Alright, what's up YouTube? Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make an easy homemade mead, or I guess this would be considered a mellow mel. But what it basically is, it's just wine, and instead of using sugar to get more alcohol out of it, you use honey. So I'm doing a very simple recipe, one that anybody could do. It's all with stuff you can get at a grocery store. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. And I'm using an airlock, but you don't need that. You could also just use a balloon. So the first thing I got is the honey. Just got some cheap clover honey. 3 pounds for a 1 gallon batch. I just got some standard bread yeast. And the yeast is to make it ferment. I have some raisins. I'm only going to use about a box, maybe not even, maybe just like 20 or a small handful. And that's for yeast energizer. And I've used this before and it works pretty good. I don't know if it's as good as store-bought, from a brew shop, but it works pretty good. And then I'm using a pound of frozen berry mix. And that's going to, give it flavor, color, all that. And then I'm going to use a cup of orange juice. And that's just for the acid to help break down the fruit. But the first thing I already did is I sterilized all my equipment. And now I'm going to put the honey in hot water. And then I'll come back once I get it poured in. I'm not going to boil it. I'm not going to mix it with water. I'm just going to put the whole container in hot water. And, so it'll soften up and pour easier. But, alright, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. I got the honey poured in here. And now what I'm going to do, it looks a little watered down. What I did was I poured the honey. Then I filled each container halfway up with water, gave it a nice shake, poured it back in there just to make sure I got most of it. And now I'm going to add 1 cup of orange juice, just for the acid. Like I said earlier. And I should have really got a funnel, but just do it this way. And also everything you see I sterilized, which is pretty important, even though we're not really doing this properly by using bread yeast. Everything I basically sterilized using 1 tablespoon of bleach per gallon of water. And I let it rest in there. So now what we're going to do with this is we're just going to fill it up with warm water. A lot of people say, I'm making sure it's not too hot because my sink is pretty hot. A lot of people say use spring water, but that's not really necessary. This isn't going to hurt your yeast one bit. As long as you have safe drinking water, you can use it for fermenting. But I got it about halfway, and I actually did this because I'm about to put the lid on, which is also sterilized, and I'm going to shake the crap out of it, give it all a nice mix. It's this is a Carlos Rossi jug, and you guys could use a milk jug or a store-bought carboy, or you can use one of these, because this is essentially the same as a store-bought 1 gallon carboy, and this is about $8 at my local liquor store. So it's the same price, or probably a little bit cheaper than an empty 1 gallon glass carboy, and you get to enjoy the wine. And these plugs, the only downside is these plugs won't fit in there, so I had to sand it down a little bit. But All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a mix, and then I'll get back to you guys. All right, so I'm back. I just got done mixing this up, and now I'm gonna add my fruit. I'm gonna add the full pound. This is a mix of raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries. I should be using something else, but I don't have anything else, so I'm just basically going to add it by hand. I wash my hands really well, so should be good. This is pretty messy. I'm using frozen fruit just because it's cheap. I'm trying to make this with stuff most people have available to them at their local grocery store or wherever they're at. But you get the idea what I'm doing. I'm gonna get off here and I'll get back when all the fruit's added, because this is getting to be pretty messy. And I'm gonna have to mash some of this up, some of these big pieces. So I'll be back. Alright guys, well I'm back. I got a pound of berries added in here, and I messed up. I left out blackberries, but in that bag was blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries. So I put a pound of those in, a whole bag, and the juice, and then I filled it up with water up to the 1 gallon mark. So I may actually fill it up a little bit more, but I'm gonna go ahead and add the raisins, and then I'm gonna pitch the yeast and put a cardboard or a airlock on it, and then I'm gonna get out of here. I'm not gonna upload this video. I'm gonna come back to it in about a day or two and show you guys what it looks like when it's fermenting, so you know what to expect. Once it starts fermenting, you know you didn't mess up. But the raisins don't really give it flavor. It's just more for yeast nutrient. That's all I'm about to do. If I had to guess, I would guess that's 25 raisins or so. It's not even a full box. But I'm gonna go ahead and dump the yeast in here. I've always just dumped it, whether I'm using champagne yeast, whatever I'm using. And the reason I'm using bread yeast for this is because it's easily accessible, so you guys will be able to make it. But then also because bread yeast isn't very bad at all to use if you don't want a high gravity product. If you just want like a typical table wine, you know, typical 10 to 12%, this is all you need. Some people might say it's inferior and leaves a bready taste, but I don't find any. There's a Lavlin yeast, and I think it's D47, and it dies around 10 to 12%, I believe. It's for more of a sweeter wine and mead. So instead of buying that, you could buy this, and you get 4 packs for 99 cents. So, you know, it's literally doesn't really make a difference. I'm dumping it in. I'm only going to dump in probably half of the packet. And you can see it on top. A little bit more. Yeah, that's probably half. So you can see it on there. I'm not going to stir it. I'm just going to let it sit. Put it in a cold place. I'm going to fill up my airlock. I really like this style better than the little circle ones, because them little circle ones
you know, or 3-piece, and they're kind of a pain. It looks pretty good. Hold on. A little bit more. Alright, that's good. So, all you gotta do now is pop this in. And that'll be that. I gotta set the phone down. I'll be right back because I need 2 hands to put this in. Alright, I'm back. I got it in. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in a dark place. Some people say cold, some people say warm. It doesn't really matter. Room temperature's always worked for me. Just about 74 degrees in here. So I'm just gonna probably put it under the sink or something, somewhere dark. And I'll come back in about a day or so and show you guys the fermentation. And then that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I'm gonna make another video in about 2 months, maybe 3, of me drinking it. And the way I know when it's done, I don't rack it. This is basically like Joe's Ancient Orange Mead, or Ancient Orange Mead, except I don't use the cinnamon and the cloves, and I use different fruit. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. So I don't rack it, I wait. When I say it's the same, I mean I don't rack it. It's a 1 jug recipe. I wait for all the fruit to sink, and the yeast will go about up to here or so, and then it'll clear on its own. And then at that point, you can bottle it. That's usually about 2 months. So, like I said, I'll come back tomorrow or the next day, show you guys the fermentation going, show you guys the airlock bubbling, and yeah, that'll be that. Alright guys, I'm back. It's actually only been about 4 hours or so, and it's already fermenting pretty strong. As you can see, the bubbles coming up. And if you look at the airlock, it's going pretty fast. It's going to get a lot faster, but I just want to post this video today, so I figured I'll show you guys what to look for. That's how you tell it's fermenting. You can see the bubbles coming up. And what's happening for all the people on here who have me, who don't do any home brews, what happens is the yeast, they eat the sugar, they let out gas, carbon dioxide, which is what this is for. It lets the gas escape so the bottle doesn't blow up, because if you just put a lid on and tighten it up, you'd have a good chance of it blowing up. And then they let out carbon dioxide and they pee out alcohol. Yeast, they eat sugar and they pee out alcohol. So that's what fermentation does. And like I said, I don't know if I did say, because I can't really remember, but this is gonna finish out about 10 to 12 alcohol by volume. And that's pretty much what bread yeast, the max you can get out of it is 12. The max I've ever gotten is 12. And, you know, I haven't even used a hydrometer on this, so I have no idea what it is. And when it's finished, there's no way to know, since I didn't get a beginning reading. But I don't really care. I'm just more into it for the fun and the flavor than the actual alcohol content. Which is also why I'm using bread yeast, to show that you don't need fancy wine yeast. Alright, I'm going to come back. I'll actually show you the layers because it's kind of cool. It's kind of separated into 3 layers, which is pretty neat. And that's going to, over time, the yeast is going to work its way down, get into the honey, and it'll pretty much eat it all. It'll probably be about a 3-week process. About 3 weeks, it'll stop fermenting. The bubbles will slow down and then eventually just stop. But that's this.
if you want to see the finished product, just stay tuned. It's going to be about 2 months. I'll post a video of it when it's all done. Show you guys what it looks like. I also may do distilling videos, but I don't know if I'm going to for sure, because I don't have a license and it's illegal in my state, even if it is just for personal use. But lately I've been enjoying a lot of distilling a lot of like really cheap wine. There's a wine I like, it's $2. It's called Sutter Home, and I, want to run it through a still. I actually don't really like it. I like a little bit better wine, but for distilling, you want to use the cheap shit. I might try distilling some of this, because not the Mead, but the Carlo Rossi, because it's so cheap, and that'd be a fun experiment. But alright guys, thanks for watching. Keep an eye out. In a couple months I'm going to do a part 2 of this when it's finished. Show you guys what it's like. Thanks.